It's sad to say that many games in the industry go through what has been dubbed development hell. They go through a process of terrible development, and it all goes really poorly for the company. However, a lot of the time, these games do in fact release, but sometimes not to the best of standards. So stay tuned to today's video, as we're going to discuss what Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 could learn from Cyberpunk 2077. First up, could Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 learn from the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077. We're now into the month of October, and that means it's nearly that time of year for everything spooky to happen. While there are plenty of horror games coming out or have already released by the time this video comes out, one particular title is surprisingly enough still missing from this year's roster. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 doesn't have a general release date yet, and it's been in multiple different stages of development hell for a long time now. The next time the game is shown off during some sort of event, it might not even be anything like what has been revealed so far. We've seen this situation many times before, as gamers have slowly gotten used to seeing a game announced and not seeing its final form for quite a while. Hopefully, the team are working on the game and are now taking notes on the most recent disastrous launch from development hell, that being Cyberpunk 2077's launch, so it will not suffer the same issues on its release date. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is a sequel that not many expected to the original 2004 Bloodlines. The original game suffered its own version of developmental hell, as it was a massive undertaking at the time for such a small company. The game used a brand new engine and was pushed to a very specific release date despite it not being anywhere close to ready. The game released at the same time as Half-Life 2, but Bloodlines was full of bugs and everyone considered it a massive failure due to some very poor sales. No one expected the sequel because of how poor the first one came out, but it also now seems like the sequel is suffering from its own developmental problems. The franchise seems cursed, which is very fitting for the month of October. One of the biggest things that many fans of the Bloodlines series are hoping for is that the company are learning from the release of Cyberpunk 2077's rocky start and how CD Projekt Red handled it. The launch of Cyberpunk. A few years back, Cyberpunk suffered an insanely terrible launch after a very long developmental period full of hell. Due to its long development and how much the company and the game had changed in that time, Cyberpunk 2077 just didn't come out as well as they wanted it to. The game had to stay kept up with the technology at the time and provide the features promised over the years. However, a lot of the features ended up being cut in the process. Some of these were things like vehicle customization, different partners, as well as a massive difference between each background story. But sadly enough, these were all cut. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is already quite a bit far behind its original planned release window. It has actually had to change studios just a few years ago. At this time, the game was almost scrapped, but another company picked it up and said that there was a lot more progress on the game. Though it may not be anything like the original thing we've been seeing or promised anymore, at least the game should be coming out in some state. Though the game has most likely changed quite a bit since the last time we've seen it, there are some general features that Bloodlines 2 is known for that should make an appearance within the game. No information has been released on what we should expect, so it's hard to think about if anything that's already been shown might not make it in. The brand new studio is also yet to release a trailer, so we really need to see what they've done to the game. Otherwise, fans will continue to expect what they've already seen in previous trailers. This was one of the highest points of friction with the fan base and CD Projekt Red during the announcements and release of Cyberpunk 2077. The game had changed quite a lot during its early days, and even during later ones, so fans were expecting certain things that just did not make it into the final product. Developmental window and previous generation consoles. The development window has presumably been shortened by quite a bit, so optimization is probably also going to be an issue when the game gets a definitive release date. Cyberpunk 2077 was a game with a myriad of delays, and it was decided that the game was polished enough for release. However, though this was definitely true for some high-end PC gaming rigs, it wasn't even true for the latest generation of consoles and definitely not true for the previous generation of PS4 and Xbox One. The game is basically unplayable on last generation, and CD Projekt Red have said that they'll no longer be optimizing or updating this version of the game. The upcoming DLC that is going to revamp a lot of systems and bring more content to the game is set to launch on PC and the next generation of consoles. However, it will not be launching on Xbox One or PS4 due to developmental issues. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 will most likely not be coming to older consoles, as the project was restarted with a smaller team and a release window is looming over the company. This means that the project does not bode well for being polished or being optimized for next generation consoles. From what we've seen of the game, there will most likely be features missing or or even taken out from the game altogether. This means that there might be a lack of freedom in content and could make the first game surprisingly better. Though the first game launched in a horrible state, it became a cult classic through the fans and was fixed and restored by them through mods. This leaves some hope for the sequel, as the community might change some things and allow the game to live in a better state. And that's all we have for everything on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 and what it could possibly learn from the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. Please let us know down in the comments section below your thoughts on all of this, and also tell us if you're excited for the eventual release of Bloodlines 2. And now, on to some other gaming news to wrap up today's video. Finally, Bayonetta's original voice actress urges players to boycott the game, as she was only offered $4,000 for her voice in the entire game. The final story of today's video is going to cover one of the biggest controversies that we have seen over the past week. Helena Taylor, the original voice actress of Bayonetta, posted a video on her social media pages explaining why she surprisingly enough was not returning for the role. When the first trailer for Bayonetta 3 launched, many fans were wondering why the voice actors had changed. Many just assumed that they hired different voice actors to get a different type of Bayonetta, but the actual voice actress recently came out and explained why she did not come back. Taylor said that she was only offered a flat sum of $4,000 for her voice in the upcoming Bayonetta 3. $4,000 is a despicable amount of money for someone who is voicing one of the most well-known characters in gaming history. Bayonetta 3 is a game that many fans have been expecting for a long time, and is one of the most highly anticipated games from the last decade. Offering the voice actress $4,000 was disgusting. Taylor obviously refused this offer and was then replaced by Jennifer Hale as the voice of Bayonetta. She took to Twitter to urge players to boycott the game, as well as even compared her situation to those of other unpaid workers, and then urged Bayonetta fans to donate money they would have spent on the game to charity. Taylor begins her videos by pointing out the Bayonetta series' international success, as well as her extensive training and career as an actress and role in shaping the character. Taylor claims that she did a routine re-audition for the role and received a low-ball offer even below the $4,000 one she would get later. She then personally appealed to the series creator, Hideki Kamiya, via a go-between. The developer allegedly told the actress he values greatly her contribution to the game. Taylor was subsequently offered the final $4,000 flat sum for her performance. Taylor indicates that the offer insulted her, given the character's international success and her role in that success. In addition to offering her pride as a veteran performer, Taylor describes being at a point in her career when she feared becoming destitute and even contemplated suicide after turning down the role. And that's the end of today's video. Hopefully, you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know down in the comments section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye.